you'll probably notice that that one's a bit better than the ones that I've already shown you. The main differences nowadays is there's a really important thing to note about this production, and that it utilises a thing called procedural generation. The actual size of this demo on disk is only 64 kilobytes, which means you could probably fit 100 copies on a floppy disk or something like that. The reason why that is because all the content in the demo is procedurally generated as far as there's no actual bitmaps stored in them, there's no samples for the audio. All the audio is synthesized and mixed in real time using really strong compression techniques and real-time synthesis. All the textures are generated through a process almost like recreating everything that you had to do to create a texture in the first place. So what it would be like is, say if you wanted a brick wall pattern, you'd say start with a brown square and then you'd add a noise pattern to it, and then maybe every 64 pixels have 16 pixels of sort of yellow on there, and then do an emboss filter, and then you just basically repeat that, and then you'd have a wall texture. So you just describe a sequence of simple commands to generate the graphics that you want to appear. As for the audio, you'd start off with saying you'd have white noise, which is just random, like sort of, and then you'd shape it. So you'd say put a volume envelope on it by applying, well, you just put an envelope of it. So you'd shape it. So if it was a hi-hat, it'd be you get noise, so like, and then you like cut it. So if you zoomed in, it'd be like that. So like kind of thing. So you can do it like that, and then you have, for a bass drum, then you clip it at the start by overdriving the first couple of milliseconds of a sine wave, and then you fade it out, so it ends up going, so like, so that's the basics of how it works. So, and then as for all the 3D objects, you can see they're quite complex. A lot of them are just mathematically generated, and as far as you'd enter an equation and do like a 3D fractal, and then you'd rotate the object as well. Or the other thing they use is deformation of models done in code. So almost like carving off of a concrete block, what you do is basically, say you had a square of, sorry, a big rectangle of concrete, and you just knock out the bits that you don't want. So you'd say, you know, deform this in here, and then you can mold it, and then present it as an object that can be used in a demo. So that's basically the real simple part of the object generation for it. And then after that you work on the post effects as far as mixing the audio with the video, synchronizing it as well. A lot of the direction is about camera movement and things like that, so you'd have a viewpoint and then you'd script the path that would fly around an object. The things that really stand out in the demo is where you have an object that's 3D that animates itself, because that's usually very intensive data storage wise. So what you do is, as well as deforming the object as you import it, you'd also have real-time deformation of a 3D model. So you could have, as you saw, there's that kind of metal chain link that kind of thrusted in time with the music, and that's sort of one sort of thing that people look out for. So it's about making the most epic soundtracks, the best objects, and scripting it in such a way that can be visually appealing. Okay, there's one other thing to bear in mind about the demo scene is that's known as a new school demo, and there's also the old school, which is basically a completely other side of the demo scene. What they concentrate on is computer platforms that are no longer being used. So if you see all along here, you'll see all the BBCs that are around, and you'll spot all the old computers around here. When I came in here at first, I thought they're not really doing anything exciting. In as far as if they knew about what was possible, then they could really make the most of it and, you know, show them off in a more creative way. And they probably will from now on anyway. So what I'm going to show you is a unique demo. Now, it is actually on a PC, but what it runs is a modified Spectrum core. So if you remember the ZX Spectrum, which was released in 1982, it only had 48K of RAM, but what they've done is basically written an emulator, but uncapped the processor potential to take advantage of the PC's of the acceleration and, you know, massive amounts of performance there. But the stuff that has been retained from the Spectrum is the original sound chip, but has been duplicated, and the original graphics style. So what I'll show you now is a demo called Pimp My Spectrum by my friend Evil Paul, which is basically, it won one of the biggest demo competitions this year, is it, oh, it's loading now, yeah? Okay, here it is.